So this is my latest development blog for The Answer Is Never, which is my skateboarding game based in mid-1980s. There's a story and everything with that. So for the time being now, I've really just been working on coding the systems in Unity that are going to control like surface detection, the player physics, a trick control system, and some of the really rudimentary sounds that would happen in the world. So right now the player is really solid, the player controller. Um, it's based on a car using wheel colliders, and yeah, before you shudder at the sound of that, I actually have it really stable, and I've done a few tricks in here to get that. If I hide some of the artwork there, if you want to call that artwork. So to help with landing, one of the only difficulties I had with the wheels collider system was it basically has no suspension distance for the wheels. And that's because there's no suspension really on a skateboard. It's trucks. So I'm going to have to try to fake this. And when I came down at a high velocity from a really high up jump, the wheel colliders would have a real problem kind of absorbing into the ground and interpenetrating really far. So just put another box collider down here below, and that really, when it comes down and kind of smacks the ground after that, that takes the brunt of that force, and the wheels still keep their friction. And I just felt it worked really well, and I tweaked it until it had a good feel that the wheels still had control, but that box down below would take the bulk of the landing. I'm also setting a custom center of mass for it, so I didn't have to worry too much about the effect of that box below affecting everything. I just kind of tweaked it and set it up to the feel, which is really what's going to be most important. What else? So the artwork is obviously separated from the physics. As you'll look here and see, the wheel colliders don't exactly line up to the wheels. The wheels are going to be driven by the local rotation of the wheel colliders, but they will not be positioned by the wheel colliders, so none of it really needs to line up 100% at all. And I just spread the wheel colliders out a little further, a little far forward for more stability in the air. And I separated the art so that I could do animation, which there's an animator on it for the skateboard. I'm separating an animator for the skateboard and an animator for the skater, and I will synchronize those later via code, but for me, it just is a fast way for me to prototype right now. So with that said, also we have very simple audio control happening. So I separated it out to the rolling audio, which is the sound that it makes rolling over certain surfaces, wood or grass, metal or concrete, and then an impact, which is the sound it makes when the wheels smack into the ground from a vertical drop like this. I still haven't set up impacts for forward and side, basically smacking into the side of a ramp, but that box that I put underneath of the player here also helped with the vertical impact sounds, because the wheel colliders are keeping my box collider up here from smacking into the ground, which made sense, so I couldn't call a lot of these on collision enter callbacks based on a vertical smack. And so for a little while there, it was a real bear of a problem. I was using the wheel collider's wheel hit property to detect the type of surface that basically the raycast underneath of it was rolling over and hitting. The problem is it was just calling tons of times every frame to set an audio, and I had to try to write a lot of test code to only get it to call a wheel hit one time in a function that was being called in fixed update, like 60 times a second. So I decided the simpler system was just to detect a collision entering and a magnitude on that, and also to determine a trigger that we were going into. So this would change our rolling audio, these triggers, and it's based on the tag if it's a kill fields from something else. If it's based on ground or metal, we're going to get concrete. We're going to get more specific with these later. But as the player enters these, it changes the clip. Concrete, concrete rolling, metal rolling. There would be wood. There would be all kinds of different sounds for the rolling. And then for the landings or the impacts, we would use metallic or wood or concrete. And so all of those systems are kind of working out nicely at this point. And it was not before during my prototype. So I'm using a swipe manager that detects touch swipes on a touch screen like a tablet, and it detects swiping with the mouse. And that's for my trick controller down here. It's feeding that information into it so that if you swipe up, left, right, down, diagonal left, down, you can do all of these different tricks based on the mouse. So what we'll do is I'll just kind of demonstrate that here real quick. And we'll roll around. So this is just an ollie. Now the rotating skateboard is more like a kickflip. It was just for me to test a system that I finally got wrapped up today, which was synchronizing an ollie with an animation, right? I had gone and overcomplicated things as I usually do, and thought, well, I will do local rotations or Euler angles or something like that to rotate the skateboard and then do animations on the skater, him or herself. And then I realized, why not just animate this, and I can adjust the speed and the timing and basically don't have to worry about the constraints of code for rotations. And it's working out really nice. So that was what I stood in for an ollie, which is really just a kickflip. And it's being controlled by an animator here, board animator, and then there will be a player animator. So right now in the trick readout, you'll see that there is just an ollie. But if I swipe up, you see kick flip, swipe left, 360 flip, pop shove it, heel flip, at an angle, hard flip, front side flip. I don't have upper right set, and I have upper left set. If I look in my code, you can kind of see how that's working. You can, I'll try to zoom in on this a little bit, see if it helps. And you'll see that I set an enum for the player trick. We can add to this, take away. There's all kinds of tricks to it. We're telling the animator here by setting this string information to basically, that's a string to hash for the animator here for the ollie. And in here we're using it just to say, send that integer information to the trigger. And we're setting that just for an ollie. But all these other ones, we are actually using the swipe manager. That's a component on the player there as well. And we are saying if the swipe direction is right, then it's a pop shove it. If it's a left, 360 flip, up, down, down right, down left. And eventually what we'll do is create modifiers with these so that if you're holding shift or on an Xbox controller left trigger or something like that, you'll be able to basically double or triple depending on the modifiers, all these different amounts of tricks. So that's what we're doing, and it works. But I'm going to have to experiment with this in a real world scenario and just test it out a lot and see how that works. I was looking in here for my builds. It's basically what you've just seen. It is the current build. And it's working. It's working beautifully. As you can see, the board and everything's working. The tricks are registering. Surfaces are registering, so this is concrete rolling. That's supposed to be rolling on metal. And then that's obviously a dinging metal sound when you land on metal or take off or ollie from metal. So it's playing all the, try to make it, all the proper sounds. So everything seems to be working. I swipe around, I see all my different tricks registering. And so the next step would probably be to get my proxy skater character on here and get his animator controlled as well, and just get him a system set up to synchronize him with the different types of tricks underneath, and then we'd be set. So hopefully next week I will have something new to talk about that I've implemented in this game, and we can show that off in the next video. Thank you for watching.